Welcome to Launch Today, the podcast focused on what it takes to get your new business to $1 million or more in revenue. From marketing tactics to incredible guest interviews, we focus on sharing behind-the-scenes insight from masters in their field. If you want to grow your revenue for your startup or business, you don't want to miss today because Arcui is a genius at mentoring and a startup big thinker who can really help you grow as a founder and operator. Welcome to Launch. There we go. Today we're joined by Arcui Usoara, a titan in brand strategy and a beacon for founders looking to scale their visions. As the mastermind behind Iacolos, Arcui transformed brands into narratives that resonate deeply with audiences worldwide. His journey from founding Iacolos to mentoring at Founders Institute and Startup Bootcamp and leading initiatives at Kaleido and Techstars showcases his commitment to empowering entrepreneurs. Arcui's approach weaves together the essence of brand identity with strategic foresight, charting a course for businesses to captivate and to flourish. Join us as we uncover the secrets to building a brand that stands the test of time with Arcui. Arcui, thanks for coming on Launch Today.
Thank you for having me, Trevor, and I'm really excited for today. Love the intro, love the energy, and I just can't wait to get into it.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I've been solo parenting my children, I've got 3 of them, for this week so far, and not getting a lot of sleep, so I'm not the brain doesn't brain today, and my apologies for that.
No, I completely understand. I've been the same. I've been up since 12 a.m. last night doing back-to-back workshops.
Oof. I think that brings up a good point. You and we met, I think, because we both do Founders Institute.
Yes.
And you mentor through there. What do you like about mentoring at Founders Institute?
I think one of the most important reasons I resonate extremely with Founders Institute is because we are not, of course, every cohort has their programs and everything else, but the aspect of Founders Institute is that mentors like us get to be involved. It's not very rigid, and we get to bring our insights, and this reshapes the overall perspective and conversations that founders can have with themselves, with their teams, that can truly change their overall trajectory. You and I were mentoring, I think, at the South Asian one, and we have some overlap with some others as well. But one of the main things I have seen is that mentors like us get involved. We have industry experience, but we're also being involved on the day-to-day activities. So when someone comes to us with a talent or tells us this is what we are trying to do, we can give them fresh perspectives and strategies instead of selling them on tactics that might not align with them. And that's what these founders require. And that's one of the best reasons I find myself so aligned with Founders Institute, but also with the founders, their dedication to truly put in the efforts, because Founders Institute is not easy, as their graduation rate is very slim, and that's because there's so much effort that goes into the program. On the side, the founders are also working on building their own business up as well. So they're doing so much. So it is really inspiring, but the dedication these founders have to really learn, implement, and think for themselves is what really drives me.
Okay. I think that segues very nicely into, so you and I both talk about brand a fair bit, but we take it from super different angles, right? In some ways, I've told people before, look, I don't care about your visual branding. I do, but I don't really. And it's part of the overarching thing about brand strategy. And what I do care about is how do you work the strategy intelligently? I just got off a call with somebody who had a product I was mentoring him through a different org, not through Founder Institute, and had a product that does programmatic ads in podcasts. And the headline is audio products. And I'm like, dude, nobody gives a crap about digital audio products, right? I don't want that. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. What do you do? How do you take someone who, the classic founder thing is to talk about what they built, and no one cares about what you built. How do you take a founder there and bring them to a brand strategy that establishes a brand identity beyond just like our logo is blue and goes into we're accomplishing something with that brand?
Absolutely. I think you and I are very much aligned on the aspect that branding is not the identity. If you claim that you have a brand strategy or you have a brand just because you have a visual identity, that's not it. That's not even the brink of it, because I have seen businesses with great visual identities, and I see one post of theirs and I know that this business is not going to scale further than maybe 500,000 or even 1 million, because they lack alignment. Brand strategy to me is about creating alignment internally with your team, with your vision, values, and your purpose. And purpose is important, not just from a spiritual standpoint, but it gives you a lot of clarity in terms of why are you doing what you're doing. and it allows you to gravitate your right audience towards you. And brand strategy in totality allows you to keep it brief. It gets you to four things. It allows you clarity within yourself, which allows you to get founder market fit. It allows you to create a community of users by actually understanding what are you enabling for your audience. It allows you to mend that bridge by getting the right positioning. And once you have that, you get to build the right product with the right price because you have got your audience right. You are building something that you're passionate about, that you're truly dedicated to. So you're not going to leave it when a trending concept comes by, but rather you're going to see how these trends like AI and everything is going to amplify your impact instead of jumping ships. And this is what will help you scale. One of the main things brand strategy can do for any business is by helping them get their positioning right. And we call this the slingshot model, where if you take a slingshot, the further you stretch it, the further the ball's gonna go. So the deeper understanding you have with yourself, the further you can go in the market. But it's not just with yourself, it's about knowing your audience. What are their challenges? Understanding their mindset, and also understanding what is it that they want to do post your product. They don't want your products for the features. They want to get it for the impact it creates for them, the benefit it has. And to know those things, to know who these audiences are, you need to have a clear brand strategy, because you can build a product and try to mold it across to find users to fit into it, or you can spend some time listening to your users, spending some time seeing what they need, what are their challenges, and then building something they want, which is easily going to scale up. And that's what brand strategy does. And with founders that come to me at various stages, we see where are they currently building on assumptions, and we try to rip them off of all of those assumptions. Because once you can do that, because I've met founders who change their overall business model, which is perfect, but they change it just so that it's investor friendly, and investors will be like, oh, I want to spend some money on this or something like that, or because it's friend friendly. What really matters is, can you actually scale this and can you impact people? Because if you have a niche audience market as well, even then you can scale this business, and that's all that matters. It's not about having being the best in the overall market. It's about being the best for your audience, because those people are your market. So we do a lot of work, we do a lot of strategies and everything, but it's about getting rid of all of those things where someone who is like very cool and will be like, you know what, you should do this, you know what, you should do that, and will never use your product, will never have no idea what your product does, and you going about changing things just so it's fancy, but rather telling them to stick down, to really put in the weight into what they're trying to build and do it right. I hope that answers.
Yeah, that does. One of the things I advise startups who I work with who have some volume of users and they're trying to figure out um, what do we build next is, don't take opinions from anybody who didn't buy an annual plan. If you bought an annual plan, you're in for this, right? Somebody who says, hey, I bought in the annual plan, I love it, could you do this? I'd be like, I'm taking you way more seriously than somebody who very frequently, as you mentioned, they're in 14-day trial. Hey, I'd totally buy if they won't buy. Don't. If you're listening, founders, they're all lying to you. Don't believe them.
Yes.
Right. The best thing you can do is say, hey, buy, and then I'll put you on my roadmap.
Yes. Yeah, this is what we do. We call this the $1 wait list. It's something we recommend founders to do when they start a wait list or are doing crowdfunding of any kind. Don't keep it free. See if someone really cares about what you're building. Let them invest $1. Because if this is a real problem for them, and if you've got that problem, guess what? They're going to spend more time trying to see if what you're building is going the way it needs to be, rather than telling you that, hey, build this, build that, build this, build that. They'll actually wait for you to be ready.
$1 waitlist is a good idea. I hadn't seen that before, but yeah, it is cross the penny gap, right? Getting me to pay even 1 cent is such a higher sign of this person's seriousness than, if you just did this, I'd buy. No, you won't. That's one of the reasons why I do brand positioning the way I do, which is through actual advertisements, which is most folks say don't buy ads before PMF. And what I say is buy ads to find PMF. Because
Absolutely.
when you talk to somebody, they want to be nice. Oh, yeah, I'd buy if your product sounds cool. I'd love it. They won't, right? But you start people on what is explicitly a commercial journey. Here's an ad to a landing page. And then I've got a client right now. We launched their ads today. They have no product. I own a domain called littlelandingpages.com. And when I have a client who is pre-product, I'll just a little WordPress site. I'll just ship a page there, / wherever for the landing page. And if you click on the button that says sign up,
Yeah.
it gives you a pop-up that goes, oh, hey, sorry, the beta's full. Drop your email address and we'll let you know when there's room. And what I'm looking for is the number of folks who would have actually started a free trial. Not join a wait list, not sign up and begin your journey. You measure that number, and you can begin to see how your actual engine as you build it would look like. And that's a way higher quality signal than I talked to 40 people and they all went, yeah, this sounds cool, bro. Build your strategy around a real commercial journey, not around hypotheticals, and build your strategy if you already have a product around folks who pay you, not around folks who just talk a bunch. So you mentor at FI, you mentor at Startup Labs, you mentor a bunch of other places. What do you do to guide people through? Because brand and product are related, and they can fight each other. And frequently your devs or your technical founder is going to say, this is the interesting thing to build. And then your marketing people or your business co-founder is going to say, but that's dumb. I want to do this instead. And there's this tension that goes this way. How do you get them aligned to point the same direction?
So the fun thing is, recently I've met devs who are the same. They're like, this is the fun thing to build. And the marketers are like, but that no one understands what you're building except engineers. So you need to, one of the main things I try to do is literally, we call this community-led growth. And I think this is more important. If you want product market fit, you need to have community-led growth where your audience is, you're building with your audience instead of just for them, and spend time with them. Just create a space, spend some time with them, and involve everybody. The biggest challenge that happens for even large-scale businesses, I've seen this with businesses that are like 500 million and above. The CEO is doing one thing, the CPO is building something else, the marketing is marketing something else, the CEO is trying to optimize operations for something that is not at all required anymore, all because nobody is in alignment with what they want to build. And I think we need to get rid of the word build, but rather focus on getting a clarity in terms of your vision. Because if you have an aligned vision, then you can create steps as to what needs to be there to get to that vision. And you all can come together and agree that, yeah, you know what, to get there, we first need this product for these audience groups so that we can do this for them. And once you have that, everyone will know what they need to do to create this. So it's about collaboration, communication, and not at all coming in with assumptions or building as if you're building it for yourself. Yeah, you might be the first audience, but you're not building it for yourself. I have seen so many engineers, especially on GitHub, they are very restricted to think about just the market. They're like, you have never used our product, you won't get it. I'm like, yeah, I've never used it because I'm not feeling compelled to use it. And I'm not going to be the only one. You need to listen to your marketing team. Same goes for the marketing team. You can't keep telling them to build something cool when they actually understand the problem. They know what needs to be built. It's about coming together and communicating so that you guys can understand that here's what we're building, which is important, and here's how we go about making it right for the right audience. Because when they see that, they're going to be like, yeah, this is cool right away. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one of the ways, so I gave a talk at the main stage of Democratize AI in San Francisco last week, and the crux of my talk was 4-ish% of a car's mass is steel. Yeah. And the person who invented the process that we call steel today, his name was Henry Forrester, and he did 10,000 experiments over 10 years to figure out how to make corrosion-resistant steel. Most people don't know who Henry Forrester is, and he died middle class, just a normal dude. Everyone knows who Henry Ford is. Henry Ford didn't invent steel. Henry and Ford took the idea of a car, which arguably Daimler did in Germany, took the idea of a assembly line, which already existed for meat packers, and went, what if I combine these together and make something where I invented nothing, I solved no hard problems. I found a market need for how about a car that doesn't cost $250,000, and went, right? And that idea of don't solve the hard thing, there's rarely money there. 10,000 experiments won't make you money. But saying, hey, let me put together 3 different things that no one's combined and then make something that people all want, that's money. And listening to your audience, that's seeing an opportunity where none had been seen to exist before. Doing that the right way is when you align your tech and your product and your brand, everything together, and you ship something that people then really want to buy.
Yeah. If I may add to, one of the best things I recently gave this example was Because here's the thing, like one of the best things you can do for any business right now is see what are the similarities you have with other businesses and what you can take learn from them. And I think Scrub Daddy honestly is one of the best examples for this. It's a sponge. It has a smiley. And guess what? The only two differences between the overall sponge from everything else is the material and the smiley. And there are a lot of smiley sponges been who have that have been there for years. But it's a very small difference. It's just a change in material. And people might wonder why does that matter? But he understood how the material works and then he just brought it into sponges. And he changed the overall perception of how a sponge can be used. He knew how to market it, he knew how to create different variations of the dumbbells and everything else and how it can be used in different cases. And all because he just changed the material. And you can do that. Any business can do that. And they're just willing to listen to their audience, but also to their team, because everyone has expertise of different ways. They come together, and we have seen all of these epiphanies in movies. Guess what? It doesn't just happen in movies. You just need to create a space enough so that your team can speak to you, and those epiphanies will happen anyways.
Yeah. So I think that kind of I do love because sponges aren't a differentiated product, right? I don't know the brand name of the sponge that I bought uh, a year ago. It was whatever they had at the grocery store, right? But then Scrub Daddy suddenly became a thing where you're like, oh, it's a different class of sponge. Like
Yeah.
we didn't used to differentiate, right? The same way how Nike shoes are, they're not really any different than the shoes I buy at Payless, but I sure do pay more for them. So
Yeah.
yes, same idea. So you take knowledge about this elevation and really solving the customer problem well as part of brand strategy. And you say, hey, let me create Kaleido?
Kaleido.
Kaleido. I'm getting every name. I'm just going to get every single one wrong. We're going to have something called Smith I'm going to screw up too. Kaleido. And you built this to facilitate strategic partnerships, right? To make startups combine like Voltron and make something that's better than the sum of their parts. What made you decide to do this?
So Kaleido, to simply put, imagine 36 questions to fall in love, but for business. And so Kaleido exists for one of three reasons: to help individual founders reflect better upon themselves, two, for existing co-founders to look at each other on a much more deeper level and align with each other, but also see what are their fallouts and see how they can fix that. And three, the main reason Kaleido was built is for when a founder is seeking out a co-founder, they can actually start that relationship. So it's literally dating. And we took the market, everything that Kaleido will have in terms of marketing, which is going to launch in Q3, is going to be like a dating app. Met my partner on Kaleido, did this on Kaleido, just found okay in these challenges on Kaleido. It's going to be just like that. But
You're going to swipe right?
yeah, that is in later stages of the product sometime. But the main reason Kaleido exists is that it's a card deck. It's a turn-taking process built so that, because honestly, 65% of startups don't even start because there's a early co-founder fallout. You and I meet together. I'm like, hey, I'm a great designer. You're a great strategist. Let's work together. And we fail because strength-based relationships are not enough. We spend so much time building our own partner relationships with the people we want to spend our life. We spend 6 to 8 months just to see if we are ready to move in with them sometimes. But we're ready to start a business just because we've met someone? No. And so we saw a lot of fallouts. We saw a lot of businesses never start or start and stop immediately or scale up and then have fallouts because just the co-founders couldn't trust each other anymore. And then we later sat with other people, other mentors, other therapists who work with startup founders, and they realized that a lot of issues in a business boils down to the fact that the co-founders just can't trust each other anymore. So I'd be like, hey Trevor, can you do this for me? You'd be like, sure. And then I would go and do the same thing just because I don't think it trust in your capabilities. I'm like, what's the point in that? And so Kaleido focuses on strengths, vision, values, emotions, and also on intro, just so you can get to know each other better. And it's a card deck that allows you to truly connect with each other on a very deep psychographic manner that allows you to truly introspect with yourself, but also connect with your co-founder and see if either this is the right person for you or to step away as early as you can and avoid those fallouts. To truly align with someone and then go forward. Because it allows you to shape your company's vision as well. Because if you have a co-founder, they're not an employee. they are properly contributing to the shape of the overall journey the company is going to take. And so you cannot stop their contributions and how they want the company to be. And so it's better when you start like this, you both get to build something together. You both get to mold and shape something that you would align with, and you get to scale it. So Kaleido is literally a card deck that allows you to truly connect properly with the potential co-founder.
Awesome. Yeah, the co-founder, and even I find the first like 10 employees in a company.
Oh yeah,
that's
culture.
basically that's the company culture, right? Whether you want it to be or not, those 10 people are how the company is going to. You'll be able to see those 10 people's personality a decade from now when you're 1,000 people. You'll still be like, we do this because Ted did this, and so now it's just part of the company, and the inertia just carries.
Absolutely. I personally believe that your brand's culture is the first form of branding, not your logo, because these are the people who are going to represent what you stand for, who you are, what kind of business you're building, and everything else.
And a lot of that personality of your founders, if you try and build a brand that's not it, you're just going to fail.
Yes.
But the good news is, if you're listening to this podcast, odds are you aren't Jeff Bezos. If you are, hi, Jeff. Otherwise, you're a smaller company, right? You have the flexibility of no one knows who you are.
Yeah.
So if a new co-founder joins, or if you have a co-founder with friction with and leaves, and the culture shifts as a result, the brand shifts, no one's going to know. Yeah. Don't stress it, buddy. When you find the right mix for what gets your audience attracted, you'll be good to go. Okay, so you have already shared a couple, like you mentioned, 26 questions to fall in love. You've got books, I am sure, that you were like, hey, these are really important books for a founder to read, even if they're not necessarily a business book.
Yes.
What's one or two books that you're like, man, I wish every founder knew what's in this book?
So there's this book called The Decision Book, and I think it's by Michael. I'm going to butcher the name, but yeah, just look at this guy's. I'll send over the name in a bit. But yeah, it's The Decision Book, and it's really great. Yeah, so this is like perfectly focused. Yeah, because this is not made for business; it is made for strategic thinking. But the reason I love this book is because even though there are a lot of frameworks and models in here, these are made to facilitate. What that means is they're not telling you how to think, they're helping you think in a different manner. They are shaping your mind so that you allow yourself to think differently. Not telling you this is how you think, this is what you're supposed to do, because that's what every tactic and framework does. This helps you think differently. And I would recommend reading any sort of dating relationship books because they allow you to see things from a different perspective. And if you're willing to carry that forward, you can carry that into business and any sort of psychological book. I am a huge Freudian, so I study a lot of Freud, and I even read into Carl Jung from time to time as well. So yeah, read any sort of books, and you may not find a founder with a lot of mommy issues or something like that, but you will get a better understanding of how you can connect with your team and how you can build a strong, scalable brand.
Yeah, those are great recommendations. I actually like when you're thinking about co-founders. There's a book, it's old now, which I guess makes me old because I read it when I was in high school, called The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. And it's all about the cycle you go through a relationship of when you're really happy with somebody on the upslope and when you're just done with them on the downslope, and how to build that and pay attention to that cycle, which for co-founders, it's just like with a husband or a wife or a spouse or whatever, like you've got that up and the down. And sometimes at the down, you decide to yeet out and be like, I'm finished. Sometimes you go, no, let's stick around and wait till we're back on the upswing again. And a lot of founders approach, as you've mentioned, right? Hey, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my phone number. Let's have a baby. That's not how we do that. But then also on the flip side, how to win friends and influence people. I didn't read it as a business book. I read it as a book for relationships.
Yeah, sorry.
So I did
as a kid.
both of these the wrong way. They are anything about people. I'm not a people person particularly. One of my big failings, I tend to just believe whatever someone says. And with a certain sort of person, that goes great. With all of my employees, that goes great. But there are definitely people who they have wheels within wheels, and they don't say things they mean and whatever. And I'm like, I am enough of a sucker. I will always believe what I'm told. And that's problematic sometimes. As a result, I'm like, I built a company where the culture is one of our main precepts is believe the data.
Yeah.
Because data can tell lies, but ideally it doesn't. And a lot of what we're doing, my company is very data driven. Power of language is when you know how to name something, it gives you a way to control it and morph it and use it. The ancient Greeks, we don't think they could see the color blue because they didn't have the word blue in their language. And you listen to Homer describing the ocean, he calls it the wine dark sea, which is purple. And there are tribes in Africa that don't appear to be able to see the color red because they haven't got the word for it. So when you get like the decision book and you've got these 50 models for how to solve a problem,
Yeah.
you can now, you're literally smarter even though your IQ didn't increase any because you've learned how to see the color blue. You've learned how to say, oh, this thing, if I approach from this angle, I can now solve it in a new way I didn't used to be able to. Great recommendations. Thanks, Arcui.
Yeah, I love what you said about knowing what to call it. Sorry, ADHD brain sometimes forgets what I just hear immediately.
Yeah.
That's so important because if you know exactly what you're dealing with, because even something as simple as Googling, if you know exactly what to Google for, you get all the answers right away. You type in
Yes.
the right word and you get the secrets you're looking for right away. And that's all it is about. And so it's truly about just exploring, being curious so that you can open yourself and find out, oh wow, someone could do that. That is something that could be done.
Yeah. That is the real power of any book. It's a chance to have a conversation with somebody maybe long after they're dead. And getting that knowledge and the speed at which our culture has accelerated over the years as proliferation of print media and then, of course, digital media has increased is we're able to share so many more minds and see so many new ways to see different shades of the color blue as somebody else talks about it. Awesome. You do a lot, dude. You mentioned you were up at midnight doing mentoring. You've got Kaleido. You've got Phi, all these places. It's a million things to balance. How do you keep sane amidst all of this?
I'm sorry, how do I keep what?
Sane. How do you stop from going crazy?
Yeah, I know, I was just playing along because I've gone crazy a long time ago. But honestly, it's about very good time management. So while I do a lot of these different things, I follow a very specific 4+1 work schedule. So I do work 4 days a week where I'm working with my clients, my projects, and everything. And then there's another day where I am working, but it's more on my personal stuff, things that I have been wanting to work on. I make that time. And these projects can be something as simple as my wellness, my health, or building something like Kaleido. But I really allocate and create those boundaries and everything because I don't want my stress from my work to affect my passion, something I can fully enjoy because I used to love woodworking. And then there was a time I was so stressed out and I was working on this perfect sculpture. And one day I was just so frustrated that I just hammered it bad and it broke. And after that, I wanted to just step away from woodworking for a very long time. Even now, I don't do that. And it can truly affect you and it affects your relationships. There's so much that happens, and especially in something as complex as consulting, because it's the common joke that consultants really don't do anything. But it's that in those 15 minutes, we have to think for you for as we have been working with you for years, and we have to run through various things that we have experienced and see what works right for you, see how we can help you scale. And so while I do a lot of different things and sometimes the time management is very weird with the time schedules and all, I make sure that I have set up proper times for my passion, for my family, for my dogs, and just to relax and be myself.
I get you. Awesome. It is easy as a founder, as a solopreneur, as a CEO, any of these things. Work will always expand to fill all the time you give it because there's never an end to work. Like when you're an employee, there can be, there's not always, but I've known employees who they show up at 9 on the dot every day, they sit down, they plug in, and at precisely 5, they're done. They get off and they're finished. And they'll think about work for the rest of the day. And there are people who are like that. I am not one of them. You are not one of them. Some people are. And for those people, it's really easy to just say, oh, it's 5:03. I'm done with work for now. But if you're not one of those people, have you left me, Arcui?
No, for some reason my camera got disconnected. Can you just wait for 1 second? Yeah.
I will hang out. I guess I can vamp to fill time and have the camera be on me. So if you're not one of those people who can just clock out at 5 and be done, it's really easy to let work expand and fill all of the time in your day, which is obviously, that's bad. That's unhealthy. And eventually you'll burn out and give up. And I know on days when work has really expanded to fill things, like right now my calendar is a complete trash fire after the event I was in. And I've got 6 a.m. calls and 9:30 p.m. calls, and it's awful. I'm grumpier with my kids then, which is not a good thing. Like this morning, I was grumpy with them getting them out to school because I'm like, come on, you literally every day you have to eat breakfast, brush your teeth, put on clothing, put on the snowsuit now because it's cold, get your backpack and leave. Why is this such a controversial thing? I feel like I should be able to, like the 4-year-olds, I'll give them some leeway, but the 8-year-old, I'm like, go, do, be. And some days I'm able to be fun dad who can make it a game, and some days, like today, I'm more like, I got bad sleep last night and I'm stressed out, and so you get grumpy dad instead.
Yes.
That was today.
Yes, I've been there too. I wake up frustrated, and there have been some days where I wake up right to come in to my studio. I literally wake up and I'm like, okay, time to run on the systems, sit here, and then I spend the whole day, and I get frustrated that I'm not dreaming about work. Like when I'm trying to sleep and I'm like thinking about thoughts to just to get to bed and everything, I get frustrated if I'm thinking about fun times, and I'm like, why am I not thinking about what to do next to scale up? And it's very important to manage these things because they can sneak up on us. And burnout is one of the worst things because I've been burnt out very bad. And you may not think that, oh, you may think that burnout is cool and it's good to talk about. Oh, look how much I'm overworking myself. Here's the thing, you burn out right when you need to work the most. And that's the worst thing because you may be working for 6 months and you're like, yep, this is my dream project. You burn yourself out. And when the project is about to start, you're out of commission. You cannot deliver. And everything you have worked for so that you can actually do the main stuff, you don't get to enjoy it. And so managing these boundaries is very important.
It really is. And we talk about it in a way we didn't used to, right? I'm pretty sure I'm older than you are, Arcui. Or if you're my age, then you're incredibly well preserved. I'm in my 40s. Back in the day when I was a wee young lad, burnout was like a very much a you problem.
Yeah.
Like your boss would say, work 3 back-to-back shifts. And you'd be like, could I not? And they'd be like, that sounds like a you problem. I demand you work this hard for your $8 an hour. You can suck it. Now, it really is more, I make a point. I tell my employees, I see my copywriter turning in copy at 3 in the morning her time. And I'm like, Jessica, log off, go to bed.
Oh, yes. I think
Like
that's
these sort
what
of
it
things.
was, right? Like, I get so angry at my team if they are sending me a message at 3 a.m. because I'm up at 3 a.m. because my dogs like to go out at walks at night. Even if you're up, why are you doing my work? I think it really comes on to us as well, like to a certain extent, to create that culture, to let them know that you don't have to work now. Okay, you may not have been able to meet the mark today or whatever, but I am not your whole life. I'm not supposed to be your whole life. I may inspire you to do the work you're doing. I may give you the best challenges that you love to face in business and everything. But there's a time to clock off and enjoy your life. Your life should not be determined by your work. And I'm someone like my team is spread across the globe. And so I like to stay up at night sometimes and I like to sleep during the day because I just get to have that possibilities. Because sometimes I get to have 40-hour work months and I'm really happy for that and everything. And sometimes I don't, but that does not transcend to my team. My clients don't have access to my team if they try to reach out to them at late nights and they're given these schedules. Hey, reach out to me, I'll take care of these things. Do not directly call them. Even if you don't know the time zone, just don't call them and everything. Just call me and everything. And my team really needs to with any time I get into a new member and I can see that they were in a toxic work culture. Like some people tell me, oh yeah, I pulled a 2-night all night. I'm like, for what?
That's horrible.
What?
Why?
Yeah, and they're burned
For
out.
$1,000 a month, kiss off, right? Or whatever.
Exactly. I'm like, for what joy? Even if the companies are burning and everything, why is your boss allowing you to do that? Why are you allowing yourself to do that? 2 days non-stop working? Why?
And you're no good after 10 hours anyway. Like meat popsicle, sitting in a chair, trying to cudgel your brain into some kind of output. And I don't know. I remember when I realized I was like, only idiots demand this of you. I used to work at a gas station when I was in college, and July 4th, big holiday in the U.S. I used to work the night, so I worked the night of July 3rd and July 4th.
Yeah.
And then because July 4th was off, I didn't have school that day. Yeah. But then the scheduled shift to come in after me didn't come in. Nobody came in. I was by myself in the gas station. And so then that shift ends, and the next shift comes. This is now the 3 in the afternoon shift. So I started at 10 p.m. at night. Now it's 3 in the afternoon the next day. They don't show up. I called the district manager. I called my boss. He didn't answer. I called the district manager. He does. And I'm like, here's what's going to happen. If no one shows up by the end of my shift, actually, if no one shows up in the next hour, because my shift ended 7 hours ago or 9 hours ago, I'm going to, because I don't have the keys to lock the door, I'm going to put a note on the windows saying, hey, store's closed. Please don't steal all our crap. And I'm going to leave. You'll be on your own. Registers unguarded. All the inventory just hanging out. And the district manager was like, you said an hour. I live 90 minutes away. I will drive there now and go fix this. And I'm like, sorry to ruin your July 4th evening, but this is not worth it, right? Being paid $8.25 an hour or whatever, I'm not doing it. At that point is where I went, a company will use you up if you let it.
Yeah.
Don't.
Exactly.
Anyway, let's talk in a strange direction. I like it when we go into something that's not on the pre-listed set of questions. Branding, strategy, making your brand true to who you are. Those are all ideas that matter a lot to you. Arcui, wrap the show up with a bow. What is it that if somebody skips all the way to the end to hear the conclusion, what should they know about brand strategy for their startup?
I think the only thing they should really know is that if you really want to scale your startup, brands, you may think that why do you have to spend money on brand strategy? What is it going to do for me and everything? I'll do that when I scale up. If you do brand strategy right, it's going to maybe delay your launch by a few months. But guess what? A delayed launch with good brand strategy will help you scale in the long run. So the only thing I would like for you to ask is, do you want to start a business and keep changing it, go through customer friction, go back and forth? Or do you want to spend some time, get everything right, get an audience that's ready to buy, that's ready to appreciate and cheer when you launch and share it across, and then build a product that they need and then scale it more seamlessly? Or do you want to just keep changing and changing but never scaling?
That's a real good summation. I think it was Shigeru Miyamoto. I worked in the video game space for quite a while. Shigeru Miyamoto said, a late game is merely late, but will eventually be available. A bad game is always bad.
Yeah. Because it's never
Now, it's not true anymore. But back in the NES days, right, you couldn't hotfix a bug in Mario. When you launch... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, but that's the thing, right? Like, it's no longer about being first to the market. It's being right in the market.
Yeah. Being right, saying the right thing. And the better you align your whole team when you launch, the better off you'll be. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time this evening. It's late where you are this evening. And hopefully people listening to the show learn something interesting. Arcui, if somebody wants to find you on the internet, how do they look you up?
So, fun fact, I'm literally the only one in the world. So if you type Arcui, that's my first name, you'll find me. Great for SEO. But the best place to get in touch with me is on LinkedIn. I'm always available there. And if you're at a cohort, I'm probably mentoring them. If not, just let your cohort know. Guys, you should bring Arcui and Trevor to your cohort. What are you doing? Have you heard this episode?
Yeah. Alrighty. Thanks so much, Arcui. I really appreciate the time today. Everybody else, if you found this insightful, thanks for listening to the show. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next ones coming up once we release an episode every week or so. We'd love to have you part of the Launch Today listenership. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great one.